Are you ready for the best damn sports radio show on the planet? Man, our nation, rise up.
You don't want to be every time, no. I would like to personally welcome you to Man Hour After Dark. Say that thing. While I bring you the host, Mike, Buck, and Cone. You know who's coming to the stage. Sports talk than what you about to hear right here. I second that.
Go. You know that it's us when we talking about sports. Giving you facts on the field to the core. Tune in, we need the support. 1 hour too short, still listen some more. On all your stations, not dropping no music. Stripes like Adidas, but Nike just do it. Down 4 in the 4th, we go for the win. Michael 2 seconds, we taking it in. Buck, Mike, and Combs, you know what's going on. Man, now we're after dark, no LA, we the big spark. No 4th and inches, won't cut you short. Got the best talking, it's all sports. Buzzing more than buzzer beaters. We coming live all through your speakers, go.
And what is going on, Man Hour Nation? It's your boy Beasty Brandon Combs, coming to you live the day before Thanksgiving. Hope all of you guys are out there and ready for some food, some family, and some football. It's going to be a great day of football tomorrow. I know a lot of people are a little bit down on the matchups. I know we've got 2 teams between the Bears and the Lions going at it that have 3 wins combined, and all 3 of them are from Chicago. And then you've got the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Dallas Cowboys. I think that matchup will be a lot better than people think as well. And then the nightcap's going to be Buffalo and New Orleans. Look, Buffalo needs this one, and they need to get back on track and win this one big. So that one's going to be another one to look forward to. We're definitely going to get to all of that. We're also going to get to George McCaskey saying that Matt Nagy will not be fired. Pooping all in my Cheerios today. God, I'm so angry. If Matt Nagy is still the head coach of the Bears on Friday, I'm going to have to call RC Orland and ask him for the address to that bell tower that he told me about, because it just can't happen. It just can't happen. But anyway, without further ado, let me bring out my co-host, the peanut butter to my jelly, the man, the myth, the one who always loves to yell at me, Soup Boss. What is going on, buddy?
I'm surprised you didn't introduce me as the poop to your Cheerios.
Dude,
Are you ready to start this show off that way? That's what we're gonna do. I saw the rundown for the show, even though we're uncut. We try to do something at least basic to follow. And I looked at that, and I just thought you probably or potentially had some type of a stroke while typing all that out. I was like, we're ending last show. We're going to start the show. Let's do it. Let's just see if we can get someone keeling over and dying from a stroke or needing to go to the hospital. Michelle, I really hope you're on. I see you're commenting. Nice shirt, Coach B. That's great, Michelle. Michelle, have 911 just ready or speed dial the 9. Like, your boy here is about to go into cardiac arrest because we're going to talk about the Nagy situation in the Bears. I'm going to enjoy this.
So, all right, let's get into it. So, the Bears,
that's all the introduction. That's it.
The Bears had a meeting today, and in that meeting, George McCaskey addressed the team and told the team that Matt Nagy will not be fired on Friday. And now I don't know what to believe, because I just don't it would be so McCaskey-like to let this guy simmer for over 24 hours, believing he's getting fired, starting to believe all the rumors, only to dispel 24 hours later, and to just rip the hearts out of their fans the day before a holiday. Soup, I can't express you, and I know you don't know what this feels like being a Patriots fan. I don't know. I know you don't know what it feels like to be a part
here. I'm not a baby.
I know.
I did it before the
even
days
when
of
the
Bill
Patriots
Parcells,
weren't good. Even when the Patriots weren't good, they weren't this dysfunctional.
Oh no, we were just 1-15 with 6 different starting quarterbacks in a season,
Right, but
playing in old shit Foxborough
Were they ever
Stadium.
run this poorly though? It's
Before
not even
Kraft
just the
bought
leadership.
them, yes.
It's not
Before
even just the
Kraft bought
leadership
them, yes.
of Matt Nagy on the field. I'm talking about from ownership down, the leadership of this organization.
The Patriots were
It's just so bad.
They were going to send them to St. Louis or potentially Hartford. Think about that. Hartford, Connecticut was seen as a potential better landing spot for a team to start up because it was so dysfunctional.
It's the one sport I have where I don't have to worry about a team from St. Louis.
Oh, man. Here's the thing, man. I said it to you, and then I said it on the show a couple shows earlier or late last week, or whatever it was. And I've been saying it over and over and over. And even being a person working in HR, I say I get it. I get the discomfort of it. I understand there are reasons this, there are reasons that. But if you are in professional sports, especially the NFL and the NBA, where anything that you're doing is constantly getting leaked. It's constantly having sources come through. I don't care how great of a person you are. When there are guys that are working for ESPN or anything like that want to be, or Woj or anything, that are going to pay you under the table to be quiet and be called a source to get paid for what goes on in a meeting. Sometimes, and I give all the credit to Sam Presti down here with the Oklahoma City Thunder, because no one ever knows what's happening, because you know when the decision gets made, do you know what happens? It happens right then. There's no leaking. There's no giving the situation, because now you've got Allen Robinson up there getting all pissed off because there are reports about players being all pumped about this. You've got people going back and forth and asking things. You've got high school football team fans chanting this stuff, and then Nagy's guys sit there and be like, I didn't hear it. And it's all, you guys aren't even, I can't believe there's even a thought process that there's a game tomorrow for this team against a team who might potentially beat them for their first win of the game. No one's talking about the game.
31 to -3. Matt Nagy is going to find a way to lose 3 points. We're going to lose 31 to -3.
This is the reason I say, if you're making the decision, do it. Just do it. What difference? People are like, oh, you don't give an interim coach that long of a time, blah, blah, blah. Well, what's the damn difference? If Matt Nagy sucks so much and he's going to suck it up and have a terrible game against the Lions, what's the damn difference? Have one of the assistant coaches who's been there just step in. What happened if, like a serious question, what happens? Oh, and he did. Matt Nagy gets COVID. What happens? Someone steps up. Just fire him, because now what you've created is a reaction. Every action has a reaction. And now you've created a situation that the owner is uncomfortable and doesn't know what to do. And you got a big name wide receiver like Allen Robinson, who's having a crappy year, but you want to keep the guy around to see if maybe a new coach could develop Fields, and you get that Pro Bowl Allen Robinson and everything is up there speaking in front of the media, being like, yeah, this pisses me off. You've created a situation where you're trying to play damage control behind the scenes. About, oh, no. We're I don't know where you heard this information. We're not firing anyone. You were going to fire him. You were going to fire him on Monday. When those sources leaked it out, that's because in a meeting, in a conference room somewhere, the Bears owner said, that's it, we're done. This is over with. Stop making it extend out. In professional sports, the sources are going to leak everything out, man. And now this is going to kill you as a fan.
For 2+ decades, this Bears team has just been run so poorly. George McCaskey, Virginia McCaskey, like it's just been so bad to watch these teams. Now they've had a couple of good teams. They've made it to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman as their damn quarterback, and I don't understand how a front office, how an owner of a franchise can sit there and listen to it every single day and pretend like they don't see what we all see. Pretend like they don't see a head coach who was just completely lost, completely out of his league as a head coach. I don't know how they don't see.
Some people want to stick by their own decision.
Well, right, but I don't understand how they don't see when your head coach goes down with COVID and you're a 6-point underdog He goes down with COVID. All of a sudden, you're a 3-point underdog, and you gain 3 points. Everybody knows. Yes, on speed dial. Everybody knows.
I'm glad you had something prepared already. Michelle's already been warned.
Everybody knows that Matt Nagy is the problem right now. Everybody knows that.
And they realized it. They came to a realization on Monday.
Why did it take till Monday, though, Soup?
Because at the end of the day, you still have to, and I get what you're saying. I get it. Because you as a fan see it as a fan. Him as an owner, this is the problem sometimes. Owners stop becoming fans. They become what is their own criteria. And they'll go down with the ship. They'll be like, I made this decision. And sometimes there are owners and GMs that end up, the owner will put it on the GM when it's not the GM. The GM sometimes is behind the scenes like, you listen, we're falling behind. This plan didn't work. And they'll be like, no, I made this decision for a reason. That's why we hear about so many things in New England land about Kraft and Belichick and that whole relationship. And sometimes Kraft gets pissy with Bill. And there's an element, though, where at some point you got to trust the decision of Bill. And I think in this case, your owner probably was just like, listen, I put the people in the place to trust. I really thought Matt Nagy, he got a Coach of the Year award before. We have the ability. We've been to the playoffs. Like, it's just one player, or maybe we just got to see it through. So it took what you talked about, the COVID game. It took seeing him not being there and the players maybe playing a little bit better. It finally took enough of the nail getting drilled in his head because it's his own team. It's his own kids. It's his own baby. He doesn't see it as a fan. And sometimes we as parents, when other parents are probably looking at our kids being like, why is that kid blowing snot bubbles and finger painting with their eye drool? And we're like, oh, they're so beautiful. And it takes you a little while before you go, oh, all right, we need to wash your hands. That's what's happening in Chicago. My issue, I know for you as a fan, the issue is why wasn't it sooner? For me, once you figured it out, cut the ties. You've let a 3-day circus now make a bigger issue.
I'm not looking at it as just a fan, right? Because there are some times where I will look at things as just a fan, right? So when I'm in the midst of watching a Bears game and I'm yelling about the refs or I'm yelling about, that's me being a fan and watching the game as a fan. I don't understand because me myself, look, I'm a field supervisor for a construction company here in Chicago. So I hire people, I have to let people go, I do all that stuff. I'm in charge of the teams, right? So when I bring somebody on and I know after 30, maybe 60 days that this isn't going to work, I let it go. It depends on what McCaskey you're talking about there, Drew. But I make the decision, hey, look, this is either going to work or it's not going to work. Or, hey, maybe we need to just give it a little bit more time and then maybe it'll work.
Different industry.
We're talking about 4 seasons, Soup.
But you're talking about a season in which they still walked in this year with higher expectations. Admit it, even you.
But why?
If we can have Fields come in,
no, I didn't want.
If Fields can get on the
7-9, or 7-10,
and if they were 7-9 or 7-10, that's an expectation of going up from last year and saying, okay, if you got
they
7
were a
or
playoff
9,
team. They won 8 last year. Anything less than 8 is a step back.
But if you do it with a rookie quarterback, then it gives you like, hey, it's almost like a small bit of a restart. We do it with this rookie quarterback. Hey, we can build from it, and next year you could do even better. There were expectations there.
My reasoning for 7-10 when we did our picks on the show, my reasoning for 7-10 was Matt Nagy. I said if anybody else is coaching this team, they might be a 10-11 win team. Because somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who can make adjustments mid-game, somebody who can develop a scheme that is geared towards their quarterback. I mean, look, they went into that game last week against Baltimore. They did not have one designed rollout for Justin Fields in the entire first half. Not one.
The injuries were also there in the beginning of the year too, were they not? So you're saying if a different coaching staff was in there with the injuries that they wouldn't probably
yes, because a different coaching staff would not have had Andy Dalton start the season.
I'm not trying to be pro Matt Nagy here in this situation. The only point I'm trying to make is that the comment of why did it take so long to me is a fan comment. We all say it. Every one of us that are fans are like, geez, it's about freaking time. Me as a Celtics fan, how many times are we going to see hero ball in the fourth quarter? Brad Stevens has got to go. Enough with Brad Stevens.
Soup, I hear
He's
it from
gonna go.
players.
And
I hear it from watching. If you watch the pre and post game show here in Chicago, you've got former players that are wondering. You got Olin Kreutz,
former players
who is
aren't
sort of
trashing Matt Nagy. Former players are not trashing Matt Nagy.
You want to bet?
Bull crap on you. Yeah, I will bet.
Dude,
Former players are not trashing Matt Nagy.
I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm going to pull it up right now and throw it up on the screen. Olin Kreutz is annihilating Matt Nagy every single week for his play calling. Yeah, not current players. I'm talking Olin. I'm talking about former. You've got Olin Kreutz. You've got. You've got
trash the point. Don't go down this road.
Why not? But Briggs and Kreutz are talking about. They're not. Yes, they're fans because they love their team, but these are players. They know the ins and outs of the game. They didn't understand why Matt Nagy was brought back. And your
star wide receiver is going out this week with anger and piss and vinegar in his voice in front of the media and saying, what the hell? This pisses me off that there are even thoughts of players not supporting Matt Nagy. So all the things that you're saying, Combs, are one thing, but there are obviously
that's the political correctness answer, though, isn't it?
Oh, bull crap, man! Did you watch? If you're a Bears fan, I'm not a Bears fan, and I watched that Allen Robinson media conversation, and that was real. That was real emotion. He wasn't thrilled. He wasn't thrilled that there was conversation.
He wasn't thrilled. He was fine until they said, "Did you have any part in this on your podcast?" Because he does a basketball podcast, and one of the guys, one of his co-hosts, the guy who does the show with him, came out and said some negative stuff towards Matt Nagy. So they asked him if he was part of it, and that's when he got upset. He's like, "I didn't have any part of that. That's not me. We have a basketball podcast. We talk basketball. We don't talk football." I think that the answers you're hearing are the politically correct answers. I think that Matt Nagy, I think he knows his fate already, obviously. And I think that anybody who can see the writing on the wall already sees that even if they do keep him the rest of the season, there is zero chance he's the head coach next season. There is zero chance he's the head coach next season.
Right.
And so
my point to you,
him out the door, why not leave him out the door now?
And that's what I've been saying. But your stress is why wasn't earlier? How come they couldn't see all this stuff? All I was trying to show to you, and your example about being in an industry that's completely different, the element of holding on to outside of the NHL, which it's hilarious. You can be an actually winning coach in the NHL, and they'll be like, "Hey, see you later. We're getting ready for you. We just don't like what's going on." But in these higher tier professional sports, there's so much that constantly happens. We talked about with the sources and the intel and what's going on and betting lines with Vegas. Like this stuff is a constant, rampant thing. It's big money type of stuff. And sometimes some of these owners, it's their baby. They're trying to protect some element or some area of it. But that's why if you make the decision, just let it go. But this is to Drew's point. I brought it up here, and he said he's a contract different than straight employment. But to your point, comes the 30 to 60 day thing. That's not something you do in pro sports either, because it's completely different.
Yeah, but
it's a different thing.
So, I'll admit, like at the end of last season, or actually in the draft, when they drafted Justin Fields, and when before last season, when they told Mitch Trubisky they weren't taking his, extending his rookie deal, right? So
no, Elijah, we're not bringing politics into
that.
This
wouldn't be good. So
enough.
We go with Matt Nagy, and I'm like, look, Matt Nagy did not have his guy in Mitch Trubisky. He was force-fed Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky was in his second year when Matt Nagy was in his first year, right? So I said, look, now Matt Nagy gets to go get his guy, and we have to be able to see what he can do with his guy. And from the jump, in preseason, in training camp, he handled it the wrong way.
You're talking about Fields.
No, I'm talking about Nagy handling Fields the wrong way.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So you're saying you're giving him a chance to now take his own guy, to your point.
Correct.
Which you're saying Mitch Trubisky wasn't his guy. So he gets to do his own guy. So you as an owner see this, okay, now I've given my coach the ability to take his guy in, a rookie quarterback. And you're going to say that you as an owner, not as a fan, are going to look at it and go, oh, God, man, yeah, you've been able to oversee this kid for 2 months maybe, and I just don't like the way that it's going. You're out the door. Or even the first couple weeks in elements like that. And you have to give it time.
In your first round draft pick enough, your franchise quarterback enough to even give him an opportunity to win the job. Because from the jump in training camp, Matt Nagy's approach was there is nothing that Justin Fields could do, and these are his words, nothing that Justin Fields could do to win the starting job from Andy Dalton.
And you want to know why?
That was a terrible,
you want to know why? You want to know why? Because the own organization that you're a fan of were a bunch of jackasses for signing Andy Dalton and deciding to go on social media and saying QB1. That's why there's already a stigmatism that it's QB1. I'm not defending Matt Nagy. He should be gone. He shouldn't be the coach of the Bears. But there's this element to me. It seems like you're making all these points about things without looking at the point of the ownership or the team level or anything like that. And of their fault in a lot of these things as well. Matt Nagy, yes, not a good coach, but you at the same time, you blast it out on social media. Again, this is a league in which everything is on the spot. The second they put Andy Dalton QB1, it was all over Sports Soup. People are like, they're naming Andy Dalton QB1, even though you knew they were going after a quarterback in the draft.
So then my question to you then is, under current regime, under current ownership, are Bears fans doomed until the McCaskies are gone? Because this ownership group has shown that they're almost as clueless as Matt Nagy on the sidelines.
It depends on what coach they bring in. It depends on if they're going to let a coach. And I hate being I'm sure some of our fans are sick of hearing it when I'm on here, but it's just, I'm a New England fan. I'm not trying to say Bill Belichick himself, but a coach of a Bill Belichick type of style or system, or in terms of personality, saying, listen, you need to let me come in here and do things my way. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we're going to succeed. I know we can succeed with it, but you got to do things my way. Don't go on social media and list QB1. Don't be going to the media and telling them you're not sure what's going. And if you're going to make a decision, make the damn decision and let it come out. Or
so
let
do they need
make the decision? Outside of firing me, you let me make all the decisions, and you let someone do that aspect. If they can't do that, and you have Matt Nagy 2.0, yeah, it's going to be a tough additional 5 years, 10 years, rinse and repeat for you guys until they let a coach come in and say, let me do what I need to do. This city and this franchise deserves someone to come in, wipe Green Bay's ass off of the top of that NFC North and put this place back on the map when it comes to the top of the league.
So I'm on record as saying Eric Bieniemy should be their guy, should be their target. But he'd be a first-year head coach, and he'd be another branch off of the Andy Reid tree. Then I heard rumors today that a guy like maybe Olin Kreutz or Lance Briggs, former players, somebody who commands respect at Hallis Hall, needs to come in and take the reins. I've also heard names, which I hear his name every damn offseason, and it's never going to happen. The guy's not coming back to coach football. But I hear Bill Cowher.
Bill Cowher. Yeah, no, it's not going to happen. He's way too cushioned.
What type of coach do the Bears need to bring in order to make this succeed? I know you said somebody who's going to take them by the – but I don't see a first-year head coach doing it. Maybe a former player that's well-respected within the organization can do it. But definitely a head coach. Do they bring back a guy like John Fox?
See, I don't know. With the way things ended there, I wouldn't. You got to give someone that doesn't have history there. First off, you can't have someone with history, even a former player. Even if Brian Urlacher himself said that I will coach the hell out of this team.
Oh, you're going to become Michelle's least favorite person. That is her man.
Her man, but is she wearing the Bears underwears and panties like I know you do? She
makes me keep I have a Brian Urlacher autographed helmet that I cannot take off of the dresser in our bedroom.
That wasn't a knock on Urlachers. It's me saying you can't have anyone that has any history in that building in any way, shape, or form. Even if you were an assistant of some sort that came through the system and you want to come back, like they need someone that literally just comes in. We did this in retail operations all the time. When you had a location that the manager didn't do well, the assistant manager couldn't do it, managers in training around the district that would help out and everything, and they just couldn't do it. You know what we would do? We literally do a SWAT team, which was you just wipe everything out and you bring in a brand new manager and a brand new it's supporting staff from people who either had zero experience with that building or that part of the region or anything. And you know what would always happen? Brand new system, brand new style.
Yeah.
But you know what we had to do was say, this is yours. It's all yours. You have the ability to succeed above no odds. Want to know why? Because the expectations are down here. But you have to come in here and absolutely murder it. And that's
it is
what would
going to
happen.
be so hard for the McCaskies if they don't pull the trigger on Friday and let Matt Nagy go. It is going to be so hard for the McCaskies moving forward, because if they lose the game to Detroit
That's what I was going to
tomorrow,
say.
if they lose, that's going to be even worse. But say they win. Let's say the Bears go out and they beat Detroit tomorrow. If the Bears win, they've got, like I said, I mean, we've got Arizona, Minnesota, Green Bay, Minnesota again, freaking, I think the Steelers, like, they have got a gauntlet of a schedule left. I don't think they win another game, even if they do beat Detroit. I don't think they win another game after that. And
do you want
as
to
he keeps losing, there is no way that, I mean, it is going to be hard for the McCaskies to walk out of Soldier Field, let alone walk into it. I just don't see any way they don't fire Matt Nagy on Friday. I just don't see it.
If they don't, though, now talk about this as a fan. You obviously are going to be frustrated, right? But in the situation, are you assuming as a Bears fan that if they fire him or not, that the record is going to be any different based on that schedule?
No. Yeah, look, and that was the thing for me coming in, and that's why I picked them at 7-10. I picked them at 7-10 because of Matt Nagy. I picked them at 7-10 because of the schedule they played. This schedule that the NFC North played this year was just brutal. I mean, to have the NFC West this year for your out of division schedule, and then to have the AFC North as your out of conference schedule is just a brutal freaking schedule.
It is.
And so I didn't feel like the Bears, even with the rookie quarterback, what I wanted to see coming out of this year was the development of Justin Fields. I just wanted to see him progress, and it is impossible to see him progress underneath Matt Nagy.
And that's why I think, to answer your question from earlier, a coach that needs to come in and not only take this by reins, but here's what they have to be careful of. Don't go get a coach whose sole focus, himself or her or whoever, is going to be Justin Fields. You need a coach that can coach that whole team, because you need someone specialized as the quarterback coach. I think this is a too higher situation for the Bears. It's a head coach and it's a quarterback coach. And of course, the head coach is going to want to support it, but the ownership's going to say, listen, you can't just bring in your buddy or someone you owe a favor to or someone that's always worked around you. You need to bring in someone that is going to be there early with Fields, that's going to stay late with Fields, that's going to get into his ear, that's going to have him watch film and smack him in the back of the head when he makes the wrong, a statement on the field, on the film. Like, the head coach is going to have enough additional stuff, because the Bears are not a quarterback away from being successful. The Bears are an offensive line away from being successful, a quarterback away, an additional wide receiver, maybe the route schemes, even with a decent defense, like a mindset of maybe going from, like, what are they right now? A 4-3? Maybe you change up to a 3-4. Like, a head coach that's going to come in here and really reset that culture cannot have, as important as it is to the fan side, Justin Fields be his number one concern. It's going to be a big concern, but they got to have a QB coach that's going to go in there and keep Fields on his hip.
And this is going to be the last thing I say before we go to break, because we got Graham Wallace coming up with the power rankings here. Last thing I want to say before we get to break is that the way that this should have been handled by the Bears front office, by the head coaching staff, is that the day they drafted Justin Fields, they should have said he's competing for a starting job with Andy Dalton during training camp, when he clearly beat out Andy Dalton in training camp. Should have said Andy Dalton is going to be a great backup. He's going to be a mentor to Justin Fields, and they should have come out week one with Justin Fields playing and Andy Dalton being the backup. No, they wouldn't. I don't think they would have a better record, because the Bears just can't beat Green Bay with anybody at quarterback lately. The Bears wouldn't have beat the Browns that game with anybody at quarterback. It just wouldn't have happened. So I don't think the record would be any different right now, but I would have liked to have seen the progression of Justin Fields. And Matt Nagy he's incapable of being that guy. So I'm interested to see how the Bears go with this come Friday, but we're gonna get to break, and when we come
I'm
back,
interested to see if you don't have a heart attack by Friday afternoon. I'm gonna have Michelle on speed dial to make sure you're okay.
yeah, you probably should because it's gonna be a long Friday, and I have the day off of work, so yeah, I might be drunk by 2.
2. Wow,
Yeah.
giving yourself some credit there, buddy.
Yeah, probably closer to noon. All right, so we're gonna get to break, and when we come back, we're gonna bring out Graham Wallace. We're gonna get to the power rankings. I'm sure he's gonna want to touch on a little bit of this this Bears stuff here. So we will be right back. Give us 2. And we are back. It looks like Man Hour Nation is outside the studio going crazy. We've got all sorts of signs up here. I don't know what's going on.
That worries me.
Yeah, I like my favorite is the one right there that says Bucks takes make me stutter too.
Yeah.
Might be the best sign of all time.
They make me stutter with rage. I think I wrote that sign.
That might be true. You know, Bucks had some crazy takes over the last year, probably longer than that. But nothing drives me more insane than his take on Lamar Jackson is trash. Because I don't understand the hatred for Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson. I mean, the only thing that you have to say to him is look at the numbers. Because that just disputes your argument right there.
You and I battled on Lamar Jackson. I'm not a Buck Heister type of, he's trash. I don't agree that he's MVP caliber, though, player either. His MVP award, I think, came at a year where he got it was kind of like the Dustin Pedroia flash in the pan, MLB, MVP type of thing.
They're excited to have him.
But at the same time, I put Lamar Jackson, I put him as a decent quarterback who happens to be in the top 10 running back in the league, and that makes him a dynamic force when you put those two pieces together. You get him to rush outside the pocket where he has to throw, though, and he's not a good QB. But
the reason why I bring up
Bucks he sucks and he could take him off.
Yeah, the reason I bring up Buck's takes is because Buck says some crazy things, but sometimes they're not as crazy as this guy's power rankings can be. And I haven't seen his power rankings yet, so I'm not sure where we're going. But let's welcome Graham Wallace to the show. Bus, what's going on, buddy?
Hey, Combs, Soup Boss. Good to be with you. First time I'm on with you. Been a few weeks since I've been on with you, Combs. Great to be with you guys. What do you mean you haven't seen my power rankings?
I haven't seen the power rankings yet. I think it's a big secret.
Okay.
So I think here's what I think. I think Buck knows the power rankings. I think that Buck knows that my head might pop off during these power rankings. So I think he's sitting at home watching right now in Kansas with his family for Thanksgiving. I think he's watching the show and kind of like greasing up his palms right now. Like, I can't wait for this. So, you know,
he's already editing some short.
I don't know. I
I
took my lumps for not jumping on the Cardinals number one train.
I told you
for a few weeks, and then I had them at number one, and then you weren't on. And then they lost against the Packers. I tried to drop them back down, so we'll have to see if they
didn't
find
have
a way
to drop them back down. I mean,
well,
look,
I did drop them back down, and we'll have to see if they find themselves back on the top spot.
Man, they better look when you're winning with Colt McCoy. You better be the number one damn team.
Twice.
Are you trashing Colt McCoy right now, buddy?
I am, and you know what? Screw your Longhorns. I am trashing Colt McCoy.
The only quarterback outside of Russell Wilson to win in Seattle, each of the last 2 years. Yeah, that's right.
Just tell me your power rankings.
Wow.
Just tell me your power rankings are better than the college football playoff rankings.
I think so. I haven't been paying a ton of attention, to be honest, to college football this season.
Alabama's still in there. That's all you need to know. And I
saw that, and they had a bit of a shaky performance, I think, against Arkansas. I saw that fake field goal touchdown,
and lost to an unranked Texas A&M, who somehow found themselves ranked 13 the week.
Were they unranked when they beat them?
They were unranked when they beat.
They were like 18 or something.
They were unranked. Yeah, then they became ranked the next week. Surprise, surprise, surprise! Right?
Yeah, it's
had to
always
make that
the
look
same.
Like a good loss.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I have to cut out college football and just figure out what's going on in February when draft season starts. It's just. Yeah, I don't have a lot of time for it. Saturdays are more family time for me, I think.
It's the minor leagues. I mean, you got to watch minor league football, right?
NFL should just buy the NCAA.
Yeah. I mean, they pretty much already own them.
Yeah.
We talked about this yesterday, but
you know where a lot of money's going to be coming. We don't want to get me going. I was already yelling enough yesterday.
Graham, what's your take on the Chicago Bears situation with Matt Nagy before we get to your power rankings?
Yeah, it's a tough situation. I agree with a lot of, I guess I'm pointing the wrong way, of what Soup Boss said there. You know, like the really good organizations, I like the Sam Presti reference there. You don't hear anything. You just hear, bam, they're trading for Chris Paul. Boom, they're trading Russell Westbrook. They just do things. They don't talk about it. So I think they're in a tough position. I will say they got completely robbed in that Monday Night Football game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A couple of hard quarterback hits on Justin Fields, and then a terrible call on a crackback block. Which the taunting was I'm just getting to that though, but the touchdown for Jimmy Graham should not have been called back. That crackback block call was terrible. So they should already have 4 wins, I think. And you know, the Baltimore collapse was tough, but they did play pretty hard in that game. I'm not going to sit here and defend Matt Nagy, although I will say he won 12 games with Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback, and then he got back to the playoffs last year with him primarily being
he won 12 games with a great defense. Not Mitch Trubisky as his quarterback.
Trubisky was his starting quarterback, right?
Yeah, the same thing with Rex Grossman going to a Super Bowl. The Rex Grossman didn't go to a Super Bowl. That defense took them to a Super Bowl.
Bears have never had a good quarterback ever. Sid Luckman. You have to go back to the 30s, honestly.
They've got one now.
I don't believe they do, but we'll see about that. I don't think there's, I think Mac Jones is a good quarterback in this class. And I think Lawrence might be good. Lance could be good eventually, but I think Zach Wilson and Fields are busts.
Oh, wow.
Those are my busts out of this.
Now that you've already had one horrible take, let's get to your power rankings.
Okay. Sure. Where do you want to start?
Let's just start at number 15. We all know who the bottom 15 are. Let's start at 15. What do you got?
Real quick.
Go ahead.
That Bears playoff game, by the way, last year. What's great about that is no one remembers a damn thing about it except it was the Nickelodeon playoff game.
Oh,
everyone loved the SpongeBob goal. That's all anyone remembers about it.
That's true. I don't remember a thing. I think there was a drop touchdown. That's all I remember. Someone had a surefire touchdown and they dropped it. I think.
Right in his chest. Right in his chest.
It probably happened.
So I guess we'll start. You want to start with what? 15? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what do you guys normally do on Wednesday? You go 15 or you go 10?
Sometimes Buck will. I mean, Buck usually knows what I have in my power rankings, but he'll usually pick out a few things that he doesn't like or he does like. But I'm fine if you just want to do the top 10 or whatever.
Yeah, let's do the top 10, and Soup and I will just yell at you as you go.
Yeah. There's definitely going to be maybe some controversy. You've already kind of pinned it up by
how about
comparing
this?
it to Buck's takes, but yeah.
Why don't you give me the best team that's not in your top 10?
Best team not in my top 10. Right now, it's probably the Indianapolis Colts. I have them at 13. They've won 4 in a row, I believe. Should have been 5 in a row. They blew that game against Baltimore on the Monday night. Wentz is looking good. He's playing with confidence. He's only got 3 interceptions on the season, which I think is mind-boggling. The run game looks great. Jonathan Taylor looks like the best RB in the league. And the defense is doing enough, forcing turnovers, things like that, coming off that huge win against the Bills. There's still a couple of games behind the Titans. And they've lost 2 head-to-head matchups. So winning that division is going to be a really tough challenge for them. But they're looking like a playoff team right now. That's for sure.
Are the Bills in your top 10?
The Bills are actually just outside my top 10. They're at number 11.
Okay.
They've lost 3 out of 5. Big game tomorrow night against the New Orleans Saints. They got to come out big in this game. They've had some shaky matchups. You think about the Jacksonville game. Even the game before that, they won against the Dolphins. They had a hard time figuring it out in the first half. And then, the Tennessee loss. They had the fourth down gamble. So this team needs to figure it out and fast.
Quick question. You have Indy at 13 and Buffalo at 11. What was the final score of that Indy versus Buffalo game this past weekend?
It was 41-15.
But so how are the Buffalo Bills not worse than the Indianapolis Colts right now?
Because they have the division right there for them. They're only a half game behind the New England Patriots. I just talked about it. Tennessee Titans are a full 2 games plus, really. Basically 3 games above the Indianapolis Colts. They have a really high mountain to climb to win that division. And if you start talking about a wild card, you got 2 teams in the West that are both 7-4. You got 2 pretty quality teams in the East, and then you got the North, the Bengals and the Ravens, and then there might be a third team that might emerge in the last 6 or 7 games of the season.
I won't bust you too hard on this one, though, because there's no way I want you to have Houston ranked higher than Tennessee, and they beat them this weekend. So I won't give you that one.
Do that, although they may have gotten a bit of a boost from their 31 perch that they were there for several weeks.
With Tyrod Taylor, Buck's out there making shorts, like 15 shorts for Man Hour Nation.
Do you think how many Tyrod Taylor jerseys do you think Buck owns?
Oh gosh,
one for each poster on his ceiling.
He's got to have a Virginia Tech
Tyrod's
one,
house
and then a
sees
Buffalo
if he can
one.
steal them off his children. That's how bad it is.
Oh my gosh, that was the biggest upset of the season, though. I think
that was a big
Texans
one.
Winning that game.
I think
that was
that's
the biggest
a trap
one.
game for Tennessee, though, right? I mean, heading into New England this week, and you're playing against the Texans, you kind of feel like you have a walkthrough. It's kind of a trap game for them, don't you think? Or are you one of those guys who doesn't believe there's trap games in the NFL?
Oh, I'm not going to say there's no trap games. There's definitely trap games, but I think the Texans have the worst roster in the NFL. Tannehill had 4 interceptions, brutal, including one that was returned 82 yards, almost for a touchdown. I mean, Tennessee's defense played pretty well. They were making Houston kick a lot of field goals, but I just think this was a really bad performance, but it's still one they could shake off, and they've still got a lot of things in front of them as far as AFC home field advantage.
I think it was less of a trap game as much as we're seeing what Tannehill truly is without Derrick Henry, which is the Miami Dolphin. Tannehill.
I thought you were going to say it's less of a trap game and more about Tyrod Taylor. I thought you were going to.
Oh my gosh!
All right, Graham. Who you got? Who you got at 10, bud?
At 10, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. A lot of people might have them a little bit higher, but I'm still not really loving what I'm seeing, especially out of the offense. They had that one really breakout game against the Raiders, but the Raiders are a team that seems like they're really falling apart right now. I love what I saw out of the defense. They frustrated Dak Prescott. Spagnuolo sort of showed his chops as a defensive play caller. It looked kind of reminiscent of his days with the Giants when he was frustrating Tom Brady in those couple of Super Bowls. But I still need to see a bit more out of this team. They do have a head-to-head loss against the Chargers. So, they're basically, although they're tied for the top spot in the AFC West, that head-to-head loss could come into play. Pat Mahomes still doesn't look like himself, but he played a pretty smart game. They didn't really have turnovers in that game, and they let the defense really shine, which they certainly did. So I have them at 10 right now. You can make the argument I could have them a little higher, but I think that's around where they belong.
No,
Yeah,
I was
okay
looking
with the Chiefs at
uncomfortable.
10.
I was uncomfortable because I'm of the mindset that Patrick Mahomes still doesn't look good. He doesn't look more comfortable. In fact, if anything, he made worse throws in this game than the game before. He just had his wide receivers bail him out, or the defensive players completely missed. I mean, he had a 2-on-1 where two defensive players should have got an interception. Instead, he got his receiver to get a touchdown. Like I said it, I said it
last week though too. And I'm not comparing them as players because obviously one is better than the other, and career-wise they're not even close, and they probably will never be close. But I'm almost of the mindset where I don't bet against Pat Mahomes in the same way I don't bet against Tom Brady.
That's fine. It's why I said when they started slow, I said, big deal. It's still the Kansas City Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes. They've gone 6-4 and gone to the Super Bowl. They're 6-4 right now.
I picked them to be 14-3 and start the season 0-3.
Wow. Yeah, I remember you saying that. Obviously, they've gotten to 4 L's, but they look like they could go on a bit of a charge. But I definitely think that they can maybe take a couple more losses the rest of the way. This looks like this is a team bound for the wild card rather than a division crown. But we'll see. There's 6 games left.
Right,
so number 9, I have the team that we just kind of talked about with them, the Los Angeles. Still getting used to saying that Chargers. Justin Herbert's looking like a top 5 quarterback right now in the league. He's got he rushed for almost 100 yards in this game. I know they had some shaky moments with the punt fumble, and they allowed Pittsburgh to get back into this game. But I like this team. I like Brandon Staley. He takes a lot of chances. He believes in his guys. And I think they play with that they play on that edge. I do think this is going to be this is going to be the team that eventually wins that AFC West. And I don't know. I just think they're a lot of the same what they were under Anthony Lynn, but they just have a new attitude now with Brandon Staley. I don't want to give them all the credit. They have some good players as well. Austin Eckler comes to mind. But I like the way this team's playing, and I like where they're headed.
Yeah, that one's interesting to me. There are a lot of teams with a better record than them in the league right now. I do like the Chargers. I'm a big believer in Justin Herbert. I was a believer in Justin Herbert when he was drafted from San Diego. I was, when we had our draft show, when he got drafted, I said I think Justin Herbert is probably the pick of this draft class. I think that Justin Herbert is really going to be a good football player. And he's proven me right. I mean, thankfully his uncle was the doctor of the team and punctured Tyrod Taylor's lung. But I mean, it was, he's proven right. And this kid, he looks really, really good. And I saw a stat today that said him and Evans have the most fourth quarter go-ahead touchdowns in NFL history between a quarterback and wide receiver already.
Sorry, Evans.
Is it Mike?
Evans?
Who's
Williams?
Mike Williams. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, Williams.
I was like, who's this? I'm like thinking, who's this Evans kid? I gotta look up. That's not my fantasy
Williams.
team.
So I maybe I read it wrong, but it said something about fourth quarter go-ahead touchdown passes from quarterback to wide receiver, most in NFL history already. And I mean, they're just getting started.
Wow. Yeah, he was wide open on that fourth quarter touchdown. I couldn't believe it. Go ahead, Soup.
But there's still, I think, a 9 ranking right around the Chiefs, I think is a good one because they're good and we see some greatness out of them, but we also see some really bad games out of them still. I still think that this is a team that is still growing, would be in a position that I'm sure you, Combs, we talked about with the Bears, would like to have seen this progression. We see it, but there was MVP talk and high-end praise, and it was like Buffalo and the LA Chargers were the two like hot trendy picks for their quarterback being the MVP and them dominating out their division. Both those teams are kind of getting knocked down a peg. Like, listen, you may be good, but you're not tearing this league up apart. There's some teams that are still finding a way to kill them. Herbert, I mean, he had almost 100 yards rushing, but I mean, I could have had about 50 yards rushing in that open field with my bad hit at 41. So it's not that I'm not giving him credit, but there are just some games though I still see where it's like, is this the same Chargers team? And then there are games where I'm like, man, this is this weekend the best team in football. So until they can find a way to weigh those bad games up a little bit more, I think it keeps them in between the 6 and 10 rank, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Ravens game certainly comes to mind as far as stinkers are concerned. Moving on to number 8, I have your team, Soup. I believe the Patriots. They're playing at a really high level right now. 5 wins in a row. I said they were primed for an upset. I was dead wrong about that. They made the Falcons look like a high school team. That was just pathetic.
They picked off their whole quarterback depth chart. Think of that.
Yeah, Felipe Franks got in there and he threw one, and the lost at sea. Josh Rosen came in.
Matt Ryan really going to be excited about intercepting the Atlanta Falcons
quarterback depth chart. You're missing that one. The whole QB depth chart. That's not something that happens in the normal NFL game.
Hey, Soup,
Am I making it like
right
that
now?
Means they're the
name me the other two quarterbacks
No.
other than Matty Ice. Name me the other two quarterbacks. Go
Josh
ahead.
Rosen is his
okay,
backup.
And who's the third one?
Jackass. I don't need.
And who's the third
one?
Yeah, you do.
No, I don't.
Yeah, exactly. Because he probably just came out of a grocery store last week.
If the Bears had gotten 3 interceptions off of a whole quarterback squad, you'd be out here talking about how the Bears are the most underrated defense.
If the Bears got 3 interceptions, period, I'd be excited.
Exactly. I could be excited about it. It was a neat little stat. Relax.
Felipe Franks is the name you're looking for. Former Florida Gator. Chop chop. Number 7 is a team that's been slipping, but they're slipping from a pretty high perch. They were 7-1 just about 3 weeks ago. They've lost their last couple in pretty unimpressive fashion. They were off this past week, but they were still in pretty good position. The Los Angeles Rams. They're going to need to find a way to find that early season magic with Matt Stafford and Coach Sean McVay. He's looked pretty shaky the last couple of weeks. I think the lack of a consistent running game, although Henderson has done a decent job for them, has hampered them at times, as well as some of the decision making by Stafford. I mean, I talked a little bit about this with Buck a couple weeks ago. Stafford is hardly a proven quarterback as far as playing in a lot of huge games. And we're getting to that point in the season where he's going to need to be sharp. I mean, he's had a good career. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a hater of Matt Stafford. I think he's a really good quarterback. But, when you play for the Detroit Lions for 12 seasons, you're not playing in a ton of big games. So I think that's starting to show itself a little bit. They're going to need to figure it out pretty quickly in these last 6 games. They could still possibly win that NFC West, but they're probably going to have to win the head-to-head matchup against Arizona and not lose more than maybe 2 more games. So we'll see what happens. But they're still in a pretty good spot, I think.
I don't think it speaks anything terribly that Stafford goes in a lull. Like it happens. Every good quarterback has a lull. Tom Brady went out and looked like garbage against the Washington football team. Like it happens. It's just the fact that they went out and got Von Miller and OBJ, and then he's like, forget this MVP type of playoff caliber games I was playing. It's just bad timing. It looks really. It's just like really, like we made 2 big splashes to try to like beef this team up even more. And now you're deciding, I don't want to play like an MVP. So I get the frustration out in LA for the 3 fans that are cheering for him.
That many. Yeah, it was pretty disheartening, uninspiring performance. OBJ just seemed to give up on that deep ball from Stafford. I think it was on the Sunday night game a couple of weeks ago. I mean, his best days are already behind him. He's only 29, which seems crazy. But you'd think you'd see a bit more life, a bit more inspirational play out of that team, and it hasn't happened. So hopefully they could figure some things out. Not hopefully, but as far as the rankings are concerned.
I look at OBJ like an ex-girlfriend, right? That you give a second chance to. It's your fault when you're disappointed
Michelle,
at this point. It's your fault. Yeah, it's your fault when you're disappointed at this point because you already knew what he was when you took him back in. And if
Right.
you're still disappointed in what he's providing to you on the field, it's your fault, because he had 3 good seasons and hasn't had one since. So
Well,
it just doesn't, it boggles my mind when people are surprised that he's not performing well.
I think the element what we were talking about with Matt Stafford is probably part of why it happened, because as much as we joke about it, I'm telling you, everyone talked about it just in like posts and memes and stuff about OBJ's dad. I went and watched that whole thing. He put together one hell of a video that would give a lot of people that probably only listen to the people that do the broadcast and then the fans online and the beat reporters and everything about how terrible it is, that could have looked at that and said, man, if we had a quarterback that wasn't Baker Mayfield thrown to him, that would be huge. And if you're the LA Rams sitting there going, Matt Stafford's having an MVP caliber year. We've got Woods. We've got Kupp. Like, if he's streaking down the middle of the field wide open 40 years down the field, this is a godsend. I could see that's why the Rams did it. When you watch that full film that his dad put out, it was a 4-game spread, and it actually blew my mind. The problem was Woods goes down. And then, like you said, then the OBJ of just quitting on a route. I was just like on that deep one. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Like, that's what you can't do. You can't do.
Yeah, it was tough to watch for sure. I just didn't think they needed him. And I think it was also incredibly selfish. Some of his behavior and the video I thought was really dumb too. But number 6, I got the Dallas Cowboys. They're coming off a bit of a stinker. You guys might lash out on me at this one. I still think they're in a good spot in the NFC. Dak Prescott just had one of those games. It looked like he had CD Lamb for the touchdown. Snead goes up and gets it. He kind of underthrew it. They just could never seem to figure things out. I don't know if Steve Spagnuolo just gets better as a defensive play caller in November and December, but Chiefs seem to go on this. Yeah, it certainly is. They seem to go on this roll late in the season when they're forcing turnovers. They're getting sacks. Chris Jones had a big time performance. I know we're talking about the Cowboys here, but I'm not overly concerned. I still think they've got some things in front of them. I really like the rookie linebacker, Micah Parsons.
What a season he is having. We were all talking about Diggs there, and Parsons is he's everywhere. He lines up in every position.
Yeah.
I love watching that kid. I've been watching stuff on him, and it's like, woo, don't ruin his career, Dallas. Please don't.
Yes, super versatile. Probably possibly the best defensive player they've had there since DeMarcus Ware. Potentially.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
If you think about his potential as the career he could have. So I still think a lot of things are in front of the Cowboys there. They just need to kind of stay focused. Eagles and WFT have won a couple games behind them, but they're not really closing the gap. I don't think. I think Dallas is clearly the best team in this division, and they could probably get themselves into the top 2 or 3 seeds. I know only the top seed gets the bye now, but I still like what I've seen out of this team. I don't know if I'm with Buck having them go all the way to the Super Bowl, but I think they could at least get there and perhaps win a game.
I think go ahead, Combs.
Yeah, I think that with this team, they're so bipolar. You just don't know what team's going to show up week to week. And it is very hard to be an elite team or be a top 5 team in this league if you're going to play football that way. And I'm not a big believer in what they're doing as a whole. I think that they've got some questions. I think that they've held on to their running game a little bit too long. I think that he is not being used the way that he would like to be used. I don't think that they are doing the things that they need to do with him. And so I don't know what that is. So I'm okay with them there. I'm okay with them there.
You could say Tony Pollard's been more productive at times this season.
Yeah.
Sorry, Soup.
No, that's what I was going to go with the Pollard thing. I think it's funny because Zeke kind of, he comes from that area up by Combs, and to hear it's not say that Zeke is just not living up to his potential, and instead they're not utilizing him to his ability. And yet Pollard is a guy 2/3 of his size, and he's running through the line. It's not like they're putting Pollard in just little swing run options or just the screen elements. They're giving it to him in I formation, and he's cutting right through the gaps. putting his shoulder into defensive players and cutting off 9, 10, 11-yard runs. Zeke's not doing that. Like, biggest thing to me isn't whether or not the year Dak's having. Yeah, he had a bad game. Mahomes got gifted a touchdown in that game. Like I said, like, I don't think either quarterback did really well. But then that's the game that Zeke should have been saying, feed me the ball, put it on my back. I just don't see it. I don't know if maybe he's got an injury we're not seeing, or we're just seeing a rapid decline, him as a running back. I don't know what it is, but I don't think it's them not utilizing him.
They're utilizing him more in the pass blocking game, though. If you watch what the Cowboys are doing, a lot of the time when Zeke is in that backfield, they're not handing the ball off. He's pass blocking more than he's running the ball.
They started that very first drive of the game. They gave it to him twice. He ran for 3 yards. Pollard came out.
They're never giving it to him,
and he got the exact same ones, and he ran off 11-yard run right on the very next drive. Like, exact same formation, exact same gap, exact same blocking scheme. Not saying that Pollard. If you ask me who to pick, which one of the two I'm going to pick to put an NFL team today, I'm still going to probably grab Zeke, but I just worry like what we're seeing out of Zeke because those runs I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, it could be a bit of burnout there from what I've seen. Moving into the top 5 guys, I have a team that really took one on the chin here, but I didn't want to drop them too far just because they have a lot of opportunities ahead of them, even though their personnel has changed and the way they play the game has changed over the last 3 weeks or so. I'm talking about the Tennessee Titans. I called it the worst loss probably of the season. It was my number 1 team from last week against the number 31 team in my power rankings. And they lost 22-13 at home in that rain-soaked mess that was on Sunday. So that was a tough loss. I think we talked about it. Tannehill's not the same quarterback without Derrick Henry. They just released Adrian Peterson, I saw. So it looks like they're going to go with a bit of a by committee approach there. They've got some pass catching options, but this was certainly a team that was based on the run first and then the play action and having a dominant defense playing the field position type of game. When you lose a guy like Derrick Henry, it's really hard to replace that. And you need to use like a stable of 2 or 3 different guys. And they haven't gotten nearly the same production. I think Tannehill's been a decent quarterback for them for the past couple of years. But he's coming off a really shaky game. He's going to need to figure things out. But the thing is, despite all that, they're 8-3. And right now they're still the top seed in the AFC. So they might have teams like the Ravens or the Patriots or other teams, breathing down their neck, or the Chargers or whatever, but they've still got it in front of them if they could figure out ways to win games.
And they're still a winning football team without Derrick Henry. I believe they're 3-1, maybe 2-1 without Derrick Henry since he went down with the injury. So it's not like, I think that the Houston game was the aberration here. They still have a pretty easy schedule moving forward. They do have the Patriots this week, but past that, they got the Jaguars, Steelers, 49ers, Dolphins, and Texans. Yeah. So it's not really a loaded back into the schedule there. So this Patriots game is probably their biggest test. I hope they win. I hope Soup Boss is crying in his Cheerios on Sunday. And I think that
I think it'd be if the Pats lose to the Titans, I think it would be good for them because then they'll have the Bills, Colts, and Bills. And you're telling me if they lose to the Titans, Bills not going to be in there. I don't want the success that the Pats are seeing suddenly go to their head. Mac Jones is still a young quarterback. It's still got some issues on the O-line. Don't let this go too far to your head.
These next 4 weeks for the Patriots will tell you where they're at. I'm still not extremely impressed with what they've done because of who they've beaten. I'm sorry. You can say what it is,
right? But when
we talk about it all the time, I don't.
But when they lost, so we can give the
they
Titans
lost games they should have lost.
But we give Titans a pass on losing to key teams like the Jets and the Texans, but the Patriots get a doink off of the crossbar against the Bucs and have the Cowboys go into overtime and get 2 4th-down conversions in the third and fourth quarter and need an overtime to win. And yet those aren't those you can have impressive losses too. Those are far better impressive losses than the Jets and Texans.
Their two losses are more impressive than any of their wins to me, though, except for maybe the one against the Chargers. Like that's the thing though. So that's where I'm going. Like, so great, they destroyed the Jets twice. Cool. Then they destroyed the Texans. Cool. Like I don't care. They're not beating teams that like what they're about to play in the NFL this year. What they're about to face over the next the next 4 weeks is really going to. And look, they might be good. They might really be good. I'm not.
Nice bye week.
I'm not saying that they're not good. What I'm saying is I'm not going to say, hey, the Patriots are back and Mac Jones is Tom Brady 2.0 just yet. What I'm going to say is I want to see what they do over the next 4 weeks before I make my decision on whether or not they're for real or they were just, the product of not such a tough schedule.
Yeah, they got some tough games coming up. That's for sure. The couple of showdowns with the Bills in the 3-week stretch is really going to tell the story.
And the Colts,
and the Colts for that matter in the AFC playoff picture. Okay, so number 4, I got the Green Bay Packers. They're coming off a tough loss. The Minnesota Vikings. It looked like Darnell Savage went up and got the pick in overtime. It turns out he trapped it. He didn't quite get it. Kirk Cousins took advantage of the second chance. Justin Jefferson came up with a big time game. But I still think Packers, they've kind of got a lot of things in front of them as well. Aaron Rodgers, I'm not sure what's going on with his foot, his turf toe, different things like that. We won't get into
toe. He's got a fractured toe. He
fractured
showed it
toe,
on camera
worse than
today.
A turf toe. Okay.
That was
I still
so
like
funny.
The running
that was
game.
So damn funny.
The defense has been pretty good. It's showed a lot of improvement under defensive coordinator Joe Barry. So I think this is a team that still has a shot at being the number 1 seed in the NFC. Obviously, they have the head-to-head victory over the Arizona Cardinals. Just a game behind them. It's weird to see them lose to the Vikings because it doesn't seem to happen very often. But I still like this team. I still think this is a Super Bowl contending team. They just have to try to play consistently.
Did you see that Aaron Rodgers then on his Twitter put his banner as like that picture of him laying on the ground with the strap around his chin, but with laser eyes. And then his profile picture is his foot up on the conference today.
Oh my God. I can't even I know, look, the Packers are number 4. Cool. They're really good. Yay. Let's move on. Who's number 3?
Oh, the Bears fit his mouth.
I just can't keep talking about the Packers. I hate the damn Packers. I hate Aaron Rodgers and his stupid, face who looks like after he leaves the game, he's going out and stealing catalytic converters and selling them on the black market. And
that guy dated Olivia Munn, by the way.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Cooler than me.
I mean, yeah.
He's not a bad looking guy. I mean, he's doing everything he can to not be a good looking guy with the hair and the homeless kind of look and this idiotic takes on immunization and stuff. But, he's not a bad looking guy. He's got a lot of money and he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And I'm not even a Rodgers guy. So
look, Strafford, it's a bunch of grown men talking about how nice looking other grown men are. Now we're not fighting about sports.
I loved your answer to him, though, by the way. The same thing I would say to my son. You watch videos of people playing video games, yelling at other people playing video games.
Twitch, right? Or YouTube, whatever. All right, guys. So top 3. This
Here we go.
A team you guys were talking a little bit before I hopped on. Baltimore
God help
Ravens.
You. All right.
Baltimore Ravens. I think this was it was a bit of a shaky game. Tyler Huntley, first career start. I don't know if you guys caught his post-game interview, but him and Lamar Jackson just seem like they're 2 peas in a pod. They're the same kind of guys, just regular kind of guys. They're not polished when they talk to the media. They just talk like they're just talking to their boys in the locker room or whatever, not polished at all, but he was able to get the job done. I was actually pretty impressed with Huntley considering he was an undrafted quarterback out of Utah. He had a really high completion percentage in this game. He also ran for quite a few yards. This wasn't a great win, but when you're able to beat no offense, but a bad team when you've been trailing the whole time and come back with your backup quarterback, first career start, they've been able to win games like this throughout the season. So I think there's something about this team. I don't want to call them a team of destiny, but they've had a few of these weird games that they've been able to kind of figure out. The Indianapolis one comes to mind. They blew out the Chargers. We talked about that a little bit earlier, the Chiefs game. So they have this way of pulling out these tough games, the close games. So I think that
game.
means something. The Detroit game, certainly Justin Tucker, 66-yard field goal at the buzzer. That wasn't a great performance before then, but 7-3, they've got, they've got a lot of things that they can still accomplish this season. They could definitely win that division. They could be the top seed in the AFC. So I do think Lamar Jackson is a top quarterback. He's showing a bit more skills with his arm this season. Yeah, I like what they've done with the by committee approach at running back.
Yeah, and they've got a tough stretch too here. They got the Browns, Steelers, Browns, Packers, Bengals, Rams, Steelers.
That is a tough stretch.
That's a tough stretch, and I know. Look, people are down on the Browns. We all expect them to go, be better every damn year, and then they disappoint us, and we expect them to take that next step, and then they don't, and they fall back. But it's a divisional game. Same thing with the Steelers. It's a divisional game. Those are always tough games to win. And then you've got the Rams and the Chargers. That's a tough schedule, man.
Yeah, if they could win 4 of those games, that actually wouldn't be a bad result for them. 11 wins, is that going to be enough to win the North? It could be. It could be this year. 11-6 could be. It should be enough this season. They probably wouldn't finish as the number 3 team in the rankings, but we'll see. Number
a team
2
that lost all their running backs before the season even started. It's a pretty good thing where they're at.
Honestly, Devontae Freeman has seemed to have turned the clock back. You talked about it. Lamar Jackson is a legit top 10.
He is. He's a top 10 running back in the
player,
game.
Running
they
back,
were handing out ACLs like Halloween candy.
Yeah.
They were just. It was.
I
wouldn't
if I was a running back, I'd be like, nah, we'll go play at a high school field up the road on that grass. You can watch me. I'm not stepping on that turf because it was bad.
Yeah.
Well, and they brought in all these old running backs that would have been like stars of a 2017 fantasy roster, but they some of them were successful. Le'Veon Bell, not so much. So he's since been released, but they've been able to still be a top running team in the league, which says a lot about mostly Lamar Jackson, but also some of their concepts with the blocking as well. So number 2, I have the Tampa Bay Bucks. I kind of saw what I needed to see after a couple of pretty shaky performances by them. Blowing out the New York Giants on a Monday night is hardly, a 5-star victory. But I that's what you wanted to see out of them. You think they played this team on a Monday night last year and they just about blew it. So I still think this is a tough, a good team. Tom Brady has all his targets. He's looking more comfortable there after a couple of games that he didn't look great. The defense looks pretty formidable. So I think this is a Super Bowl defending champs, and they're going to find their way, try their darnest to get back there. And I think they're capable of doing so.
Do you think that them and the Chiefs kind of are still going to be on a collision course? All this parody we're seeing, all this craziness we're seeing, and
I love it.
In the end, we're just going to have a rematch in the Super Bowl.
I don't know if I'm on board with that. I still need to see a bit more from the Chiefs. I think the Bucks are right there, but if they lose to a team like, say, the Rams or the Cardinals or the Packers, I wouldn't be surprised. This year, it's so hard to determine who the winner's going to be. Even the best teams have had stinkers. So, although I wouldn't be shocked if that happened, it's really rare to have the same Super Bowl 2 years in a row. I can't even think of the last time that happened.
Where is the Super Bowl this year?
Is it in Los Angeles? I'm honestly not sure.
Is it in Vegas?
Yeah.
Oh, is it in Vegas?
No,
No,
I think it is actually in SoFi Stadium in LA.
LA.
Yep.
Okay, so maybe
Which is
we'll
gonna
see
be
the Rams there.
insane.
Another home team in the Super Bowl 2 years in a row?
Maybe. I mean, Stafford hasn't really had a lot of playoff experience, but we'll see.
Listen. We all know what's happening. This is Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. It's happening. Let's just
I'll
just
if
go with it.
If that happened, I'd be good with it. If that happened that way, I'd be.
That would
Brady
be the most
in the
hated
Super
Bowl, and yet you know what? That would be the highest rated Super Bowl in NFL history.
Oh,
I would call it today.
I would love every minute of it.
Week 3 Sunday Night Football was probably the most rated game
since 1997.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. You got the stats, Soup. Kudos to you for that. That was a compelling game, even though it was crappy weather and people thought the Patriots weren't going to be good. So I agree. That would be a really interesting, compelling Super Bowl. But I don't want to see Tom Brady in the Super Bowl. I don't, and I don't. I'm not ready to see the Patriots back there either. It's okay if they make the playoffs, but
it's easy money. If Tom Brady's in the Super Bowl, just bet on him.
Well, if they're not playing the Giants, they're going to win for sure.
Everyone in Philadelphia is like, "Oh, Philly special! Oh yeah, Philly special! Yay!"
Or NFC East team, I guess, if they're not playing.
Yeah.
So number one, guys, I took my lumps for not having this team number one before, so maybe I'll get some praise and some kind words thrown my way. I'm not holding my breath. I have the Arizona Cardinals. Colt McCoy has been unbelievable in 2 of the 3 starts, 81% completion percentage. He didn't throw an interception in either of those 2 games. I know he had some bad throws in the one loss he had, but he's just kind of holding it down until Kyler Murray gets back in the fold. They're off this week, which is perfect timing for them. I like what I've seen from the defense. Some underrated pass rushers like Marcus Golden have emerged. I like what I've seen from this team. They're going to have Hopkins back soon, so I think it's all there for them with their stud head coach, Cliff Kingsbury. What do you got for me?
I know you said that they're off this week, but they're also off next week because they play the Bears. So they've got 2 bye weeks in a row. Look, this team, people laughed at me when I said this team was going to be 15-2. Nobody else on Man Hour picked this team to be outside of the basement of the NFC West. Everybody else other than me picked this team to be last in the NFC West.
13-4. I just wasn't on the show for it.
Yeah, and when I picked them at 15-2, they're like, "You're crazy. I don't know what you see in this team. There's no way Kyler Murray is going to be." And look, what they've done without Kyler Murray and DeAndre Hopkins, to me, shows that this team is the best team in the NFL. They're doing this without these 2 guys. What do you think they're going to do when they get them back? They're going to beat the Bears 79-0.
To -3.
It's a -3 because Nagy will find a way.
Some kind of record. Yeah. I mean, in some ways, the win over Seattle was even more impressive than the win 2 weeks ago against San Francisco. If you think about their kicker gave away, I think, 7 points. He missed a couple of field goals and an extra point. Colt McCoy has just been a solid backup and maybe even an elite backup. Go hook 'em horns or whatever they say.
You got to be elite in some way.
He had a great college career. Didn't really work out for him, but let's not forget this guy took one of the most brutal, violent shots we've ever seen over the last 10 years from James Harrison on that Monday night. The fact that he's been able to battle back from that and find his way back onto a really good team and contribute to their success in what could be a magical season. Kudos for him.
Yeah, this team is really, really good. It's going to be hard to pick against them come playoff time. It really is, because no matter who they play, they can beat them, because it doesn't matter if it's Tampa. I don't care if it's the Rams. I don't care who it is that you put in front of the Arizona Cardinals. They need to be the favorite in that game, because the Cardinals are the real deal. And the Cardinals, look, this team is something different. This defense that they put together. I mean, look, everybody's like, "Oh yeah, this defense is great." And then when JJ Watt went down, they're like, "Oh well, there goes the Cardinals season." Then DeAndre Hopkins and Kyler Murray went down. "Oh, there goes the Cardinals season." And now they're still 8-2, and they're going into their bye week. Is it 9-2? I think it's 8-2.
Yeah, it's 9-2. They played.
Okay, so 9-2.
They're the only 9-win team in the NFL.
So now they're 9-2. And they're on a bye week, and then they get to play the Bears. And then after the Bears, they play the Rams. But then they get the Lions. Then they got 2 tough games with the Colts and Cowboys before they play the Seahawks again at the end of the season. I mean,
9-2.
I think they're going to win. It was 3, 4, 5. That's 6 games left. I think they're going to win 4 out of those 6 at least.
Yeah,
at
Bears, Rams, and they get the Rams at home. Lions. Home,
and what they did to the Rams in LA or earlier in the season, to me, was their punctuation as to, hey, we're here, because they went into LA and just, I mean, that team was playing at a high level, scoring all over the place. The defense was unstoppable, and they went in, smacked them in the mouth, and kissed their mom on the cheek, and went in there and whooped their butts in their own house. So
Yes, they did.
I think they win 4 of the next 6, so then they end up 13-4.
13-4. Soup, that's what you called. I'll be honest, I definitely didn't think they were going to be world beaters this year. But Kyler Murray, he's unlocked seemingly a new level this year. The defenses look great. Some unheralded guys have kind of emerged. The running attack has been better than expected. So it's kind of all come into place. The only thing that'll give me pause is maybe the lack of playoff experience for Kyler Murray. But sometimes you see guys who don't have any playoff experience go on a magical run and they end up winning the Super Bowl. So I'm not going to say that's a barrier that's going to prevent them from accomplishing their goals this season necessarily.
So Graham, I know you are a Canadian guy. You like you love hockey. We love hockey.
Yeah.
Soup and I absolutely love hockey. We're the only two guys on Man Hour that could actually talk hockey.
Right on.
Look, my Blackhawks are having a tough start, but your Toronto Maple Leafs, man, are just they're good.
Yeah.
And the problem, I mean, don't get too excited. Don't smile yet.
They still have to go to the playoffs.
They're good a lot until they get into the playoffs.
You had to say it, Soup.
Ask Soup Boss. Ask Soup Boss what it's like when you guys have a lead heading into the third period in Game 7.
Oh my gosh. It just feels like this feeling of impending doom. Like, something bad's going to happen and you could do nothing to watch it. And all you can do is drink your beer and hope the pain goes away. But it won't for like 6 months until the season starts again. And then you think, maybe it's going to be our year again. Everything's there. I mean, Matthews, Marner, we have this great team, but I don't know. I can't say that I'm super confident that they're going to end the curse this year because I'm not.
There's always these teams that start out hot and then lose their way, right? So you got the Florida Panthers who've come out hot. They're 13-2, 13-2-3 this season.
They're going to stay good, man. That's a talented team.
You've got the Carolina Hurricanes who are 14-2-1. You've got the obviously the Washington Capitals. You expect them to be good. The Tampa Bay Lightning, you expect them to be good. Your Maple Leafs are 13-6-1. And then you got the Minnesota Wild at 11-6-1 over in the Western Conference. And the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers. Out of those teams, let's take the Florida Panthers, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Carolina Hurricanes, the Calgary Flames, and the Edmonton Oilers.
You're getting Graham so excited right now, like he's shaking, and 2/3 of our audience just turned the podcast off. So Graham's pumped. And our listeners are like, what is a wild? What is a maple?
Yeah, exactly. Out of those teams,
why do they spell it LEAFAFS? I don't get this.
Who's least likely to stay hot? Who's least likely to end the season as good as they've been at the start of the season?
Well, gosh, I'd love to answer that, but I didn't hear much of it. It was Wild and Wild and Leafs. So that's all I really heard. It was a lot of
Wild, Leafs, Flames, and Oilers.
Okay. Honestly, the team I've been most impressed with is the Edmonton Oilers. Connor McDavid, the best player in the game right now. He's the fastest player on a pair of skates, and they've been getting good defensive play as well, which has been their kind of Achilles heel. They looked really good last year until the playoffs start, and Winnipeg just kind of ground them into some kind of meat, I guess. No, I would say Edmonton.
They just doubled and tripled him and said, do something different. And they didn't have an answer. They didn't know what to do. It was the most pathetic thing. I was like, well, game 3, they'll figure this out. Nope. Same thing. They did nothing crazy. They just double and triple teamed him and did nothing to try to change up the game plan. That's all that happened.
Lack of adjustments there. Honestly, guys, crazy. I don't really look at the standings for hockey and basketball until the new year. I know that seems kind of crazy, but it doesn't really matter who's in first place right now to me. I know there's a certain point when it gets to 30 games or so, and it's like, well, if you're in first place after December 15th or whatever it is, more likely than not, you're going to either stay there or at least find your way into the playoffs. But I have different dates when I look at the standings. For baseball, it's June 1st. And for hockey and basketball, it's actually January 1st. So
are my Blackhawks better than what their record says, Graham?
I'm not going to say I watch a lot of Chicago Blackhawks games. I watch the Leaf games, and I think they've only played them once. I've seen a couple of random Chicago moments, but I think they're better than what they've shown. Obviously, a lot of off the ice controversy has kind of spilled into the minds and that the morale of a lot of the players, I think, there, and it's really affected them. They still have Pat Kane. I believe Taves is out again, if I'm not mistaken. So that's tough. I like DeBrincat is a player I like on that team.
Yes.
I don't know if they're a bottom 5 team. I don't really believe that. I don't think they're a playoff team either, but somewhere in between is probably where you'll find the truth, I think.
We are who we thought they were.
Way to disappoint
the
me,
bottom half team.
I love that.
I think they're a better team. I think they've been playing better as of late. Obviously, they started out the season 0-8-1 and before they finally got their first win, and now they're 6-11-2. So they're playing better as of late. They did play Calgary tough last night. They did play Edmonton tough. So those are. I think you see good things, and any time that you've got Marc-Andre Fleury in net for you, you've got a chance to win the game. So I do like this Blackhawks team. I think that they are better than what their records show. I don't know if they're a playoff team either. I hope that they are because I think they could be one of those sleeping giants, especially when you got Kane and Taves leading the charge. I mean, look, Kane, to me, I don't know about you. To me, Kane's the best American-born player to ever play the game. I don't think there's ever been a better American-born player.
I'm pretty ready to anoint him that status as well. I'm trying to think of some other really great American players.
That's
Mike
the
Modano.
Problem. You can't think of them, so it's you just give it to him.
Mike
Brett
Modano
Hull
comes to mind. Maybe
yeah.
Mike Gardner, I believe, is American.
Yeah, Brett Hull's American.
Brett
too,
Hull,
isn't he?
sure, yeah. But after that, you're kind of scratching and clawing to try to think of guys. Luc Robitaille, he's Canadian. Yeah, I can't. He probably is the best.
I
was scared for a little bit because I thought Connor McDavid was American, but then I realized he was from Ontario. I was so excited when I found out he was Canadian. I was like, great. Kane will stay the best American-born player.
Yeah,
because Connor
Newmarket,
McDavid is
Ontario.
So damn good, man. So damn good.
Pat LaFontaine.
He's great to watch. LaFontaine was a great player. He ended up getting an injury kind of in his tenure with the Islanders. It kind of wiped out some things for him.
Brian Leach.
Chris Chelios is definitely up there, I'd say.
Is he American-born?
I don't think he's American.
I think he is. Can we check that?
I think he's from Mexico, isn't he?
Well, Matthews has some Mexican.
He was
roots,
born in Evergreen Park, Illinois.
Oh yeah, okay, nailed it. Nice. Yeah. I thought so.
I played high school hockey with his son. He's a douche. Chris Chelios. Chelios is a.
I've heard nothing.
Yeah.
I've never heard anyone say he's a great guy ever.
So Evergreen Park is where I went to high school. I played against his son. His son played for a Catholic school, and he was just one of those where if he came to a game, he would rope off the section where him and his wife would sit. Wouldn't allow anybody to come in. And sit with him. He's just a
Sounds about right.
My favorite thing that I did in high school hockey was hit his son.
Did he try to fight you in the parking lot after, or what?
He might have tried fighting somebody. He was probably drunk while he was there too.
Well, he played till he was almost 50, for God's sakes, on those Red Wing teams. But
God, all right, Graham. Well, thanks for joining us, bud. As always, why don't you tell the people where they can find some of the stuff that you write? Yeah,
so jaysjournal.com. I've got an article coming out looking at some third base options for the Blue Jays that aren't Jose Ramirez. I don't think they should swing for the fences there. I think they could bring in a solid veteran and still be productive, or perhaps go with some of their in-house options. Bellyupsports.com. I've also got some MLB content there. You can follow me on the Twitter machine, as Buck would say, at Bus Wallace. You can also find me on Instagram there as well. So come holla at your boy. Great talking to you guys. Good to have a little bit of extended conversation about puck as well. So
yeah, for sure, Graham. And anytime you want to talk baseball, man, just hit me up. I'll talk baseball with you for 24 hours a day. I love talking baseball.
All right, calm down. We don't need to replace your
I know my pants just got a little shorter.
Yeah, no, awesome. I'm really hoping they can avoid the December 1st CBA
I don't
expiring.
think they will.
I
Yeah.
think they'll come to a deal eventually, but I think there could be a lockout. But
Do you
we'll
got time to
tuned
stay
that
with us? We're gonna talk.
storyline.
We're gonna talk about the CBA here in a minute. Do you want to stay with us for a minute?
I gotta run, guys, but
All right.
another time for sure.
That's just
All right, for
keyword
sure.
of he's tired of me just pretty much telling him his opinion.
He doesn't want to get yelled at anymore.
No,
It's-
you were nicer than I thought to be, Soup. I appreciate that. Maybe just the first time, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm
spend some time
disappointed that
with
you
my
didn't yell
wife
at
and-
him more, Soup.
Give it time.
Yeah.
Give it time.
Okay, thank you.
All right,
I appreciate it
have
for
a
the
good-
first time. Yeah. All
have
right.
a good one,
See you
Graham.
guys.
Later. And it's
I
always
love-
fun
I
with
love-
Graham.
I love that I instill fear in people before they come on.
It's always fun with Graham. He does great work. If you haven't read any of his stuff, he really does do great work. So if you enjoy reading sports columns, he's got good insight. He's always got a good ground for why he's thinking what he's thinking. So check out his stuff on Belly Up Sports. Check it out on his website as well. And we're gonna take a quick break, and when we come back, we're gonna get into some way or no way. Soup, you ready?
Yeah, as much as I can if we're going to dig into the CBA.
All right, we'll be right back.
ManHourRadio.com.
All right, we are back. I always forget about that break there where
Combs is
Buck-
whispering sweet nothings into your ear.
no Buck had that's Buck, not me.
Oh, that's what I meant. Buck is whispering
Yeah.
sweet nothings into
That's
your ear. Yeah.
but no, there's like a 10 or 15 second freaking pause where it just goes black, and it's like he's never fixed it. And for those of you that don't know, Buck is the computer guy. So like that's why we don't have a behind the stage, behind the
Computer
scenes
guy.
Yeah, that's why we don't have a behind the scenes when he's not on. That's why there's not a whole lot of audio help, music help when he's not on. I have no clue. I've got this mixer here. I have no clue how to work it other than to plug my freaking microphone in. So, but yeah, so we're at there. I did not realize how late it was, Soup. So
Yeah,
we're gonna
man.
go ahead and skip way or no way. And let's go ahead and dive into these football games we got going on tomorrow. You want
Let's do
to talk some football?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's an exciting thing to do, right?
Much better than the CBA, right?
No offense.
Oh, God, killing me, Smalls.
No
right.
offense, man.
So first game we got on the slate tomorrow, the 11:30 in the morning game for us, those of us here in Central Standard Time. And I'm gonna be just waking up to watch this game. Hopefully, anyway.
Already drinking. You're gonna wake up with a beer right in your hand too.
Yeah,
Michelle, be prepared.
Yeah, not even crawling out of bed. you know. But see, Michelle's the type of girl, she'll be the one that'll hand me the beer as she wakes me up to watch the game. So that's just because she's that cool. But we've got the Bears and Lions. We've got have they announced whether or not Jared Goff is going to start this game?
He's on pace to start it. The coach he's been practicing, he's been doing well, he's on pace. They're still leaving it open so that I think tomorrow morning they could be like, maybe not.
So we're not going to have Tim Boyle versus Andy Dalton?
No, I think right now it's going to be Jared Goff. All signs are pointing that he's going to be playing. I put out a great tweet that someone put on. It's actually been flexed tomorrow's game, just so you know. It got flexed to the Big Ten Network. So that's kind of the type of game we're going to get tomorrow with that.
You know, I heard some stupid stuff today. One of the stupidest things, and I actually yelled at my radio as I'm driving into work this morning because this idiot on the radio says, There are college teams that could beat this team. Stop.
I'm so tired.
There are college teams that could beat this team. Stop.
Tired of that.
There is no college team that can beat any NFL team.
When you say that, I dare. For someone, I get to work in operations through sports, stuff. You did as well. You got to see professional players and stuff. I got to see and walk up and talk to, and we had them in like church things we did and stuff like that. Professional NFL players that were on crummy teams, and there was zero chance in hell. I also walked and talked and everything around with some top end college football players. There is no way in hell the top college teams could beat the worst NFL teams. There is a size difference. There's a mentality difference. There's a focus difference. Just because you're the worst in the NFL doesn't mean the best in the NCAA can beat them. Stop. It is leaps and bounds different in size, in stature, in mindset, and they will make every player on Bama's team go home crying if they were to play the Detroit Lions. I'm sorry, it's true.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I 110% agree.
There, I did the yelling for you. You already got it out. I'm doing it now for you.
Jared Goff versus Andy Dalton. And the Bears versus the Lions. 3 wins combined between these teams. The Bears have all 3 of them. What are the keys to a Lions victory here, Soup?
Well, here's the thing. When it comes to the Lions, we've seen them really close, right? And we've seen them really close against some teams that, even though Minnesota Vikings, you don't know what you get in them, went out and beat the Green Bay Packers. They're a solid team. Kirk Cousins, again, not getting a lot of credit. They were an NFL record field goal by Justin Tucker away from being able to beat the Baltimore Ravens. I think the focus is don't let this opportunity get in your head, because as much as they are professional players, we were talking about it there with Graham, there are such things as trap games. And for the Lions, they know that if there's a chance for them to get a win, this is it. Like, remember the year that, I think it was the year after they went 0-16, and it was like their Super Bowl. It was one weekend where everyone assumed they were going to win, but they barely eked it out. I think the focus is treat this game as if you're 0-0. You're going to go out there. You have to protect Jared Goff. But the biggest thing, you put the ball in Swift's hand and you let it play. Even if the first 3 plays of the game, they stop at the line of scrimmage. They stop them at the line of scrimmage. It's fine. If Jared Goff's going to play in this game, he is not a quarterback who can do it on its own. It's a Tannehill effect. He's a quarterback that can play if there's play action involved or there's not stacked 8 in the box rushing the quarterback. You got to give him a chance. And even with some injuries on that defensive side, I know you know this, Combs, that defense is still pretty good for Chicago, even with those injuries. And you cannot let them know they're just going to tee up on Jared Goff all day. They will eat him alive, and it will be the best Thanksgiving feast they'll have.
Robert Quinn is 7.5 sacks away from having the Bears record for sacks in a season. So this team is still really potent on defense. And when you're trying to protect an injured quarterback, that could be a recipe for disaster. I agree with you, Soup. It's the run game. DeAndre Swift has got to get going. They have got to trust in DeAndre Swift, and they have got to get him moving. If they get him moving, they can establish a run that's going to back the Bears off a little bit on Jared Goff. And look, you can establish the run on the Bears. That is probably the biggest hole in that defense, is that you can establish the run on them.
Attack the weakness, man.
Yeah, and when you do, and I believe the Detroit Lions will, that's a recipe for a victory. And Their defense is good enough to hold down the Chicago Bears, which isn't very good on offense, especially with Matt Nagy calling plays. And no matter what he says, he's still calling plays.
He's still calling plays.
The Bears are in trouble in this game. So that being said, Soup, the Bears' keys to success are going to be to fire Matt Nagy before the damn game.
Waiting for
You've got to fire Matt Nagy before the game. That is the only chance that you have of not allowing the Lions to get their first win of the season.
I was gonna say you pay someone who's COVID positive to go up and lick him in the like to be like a super fan and lick his face or something like that. But he's already got COVID, so you can't do that. So
I'm about to pay somebody to take out his knee. I can't. The Bears are going to lose this guy. I don't even think it's going to be a close game.
I think it's going to be a close game. I think we're getting 27-24. I think there's going to be more scoring this because each defense has some gaps in it that I think each team could get one of those like if they set it up with Swift with Detroit. You've got TJ and everything that then the back end of that defense for Chicago is going to worry about if Swift can run. So on play action, you're going to turn around after play action, hit Swift. He's going to have one of those where he jukes the one guy in the end and then scampers for 60 yards. I think we're going to have fumble recovery stuff. Like, I think we're going to have like a 27-24 game that's based off of these crazy, not like manufactured scores.
I hope you're right because that favors the Bears. If it's close, it favors the Bears because the Lions have already proven they can't win close games.
They can't win the close games.
They played a lot of close games. They can't win.
You hope so? I thought don't you want this team to lose?
I never want my team to lose. I never want what draft? They don't even have a first round draft pick. That's the Giants draft pick.
It sets them up to have better draft picks in the next rounds.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
But
I'm just trying to help.
I never root for my team to lose. I think that this is going to be I joked around earlier, said 31 to -3. I'm gonna take the Lions in this one, and I'm gonna go 24-10. I don't think this is a close game. I think that Andy Dalton's going to struggle. I think he's going to throw a couple interceptions, and I think the Lions are going to jump out early, and the Bears are going to be in a hole, and they definitely are not a come from behind type team. So. No. It's
in Detroit.
Give me the Lions. Yeah,
it's in Detroit. You know that fan base, man. They're just those reactions,
especially on Thanksgiving. This is their game.
Thanksgiving, they know if you look at the rest of their schedule, this is the game for them to finally win. I've got Detroit winning. They've got to win because then you got the Vikings, the Broncos, the Cardinals. I mean, the Falcons are another chance. I picked them. These are the two games I said when they'd win 2 games. It was this week. No offense. And then the Falcons. Those are the 2 I think they win. Imagine if they could get 2 wins and a tie.
Yeah.
You're going to have Buck predicting them to win 15 games next year.
Yeah. Oh, Buck's got them 17-0 next year already anyway. So we've got the 3:30 game after the Bears and Lions when everybody's getting ready to eat some turkey and sit down at the table. And you got the Raiders and the Cowboys.
This is going to be a game.
Really? You think it's going to be a game?
I think this is going to be a game. Remember that year when it was, the Chiefs and the Rams with Jared Goff, shockingly. Remember that? I think it was a Monday night game, and it was just a shootout. It was like 56-52. I'm not calling the score to be that high. I think Derek Carr is sitting here on his heels right now trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And I think you got Dak Prescott and that Cowboys offense saying the same thing after Kansas City. I think both these offenses are going to come out and they're just going to whip this ball up and down the field. I think this is going to be an aerial assault game on both sides. What we saw in that game with Minnesota and Green Bay, where Minnesota got that big Jefferson touchdown and Green Bay, not Favre, Rodgers, 75 yards the next play. I think we're going to see crap like that in this game. My opinion. I think this is going to be like 42-38, something like that.
Wow. All right. Look, their wins, they're 5-5, the Raiders are. Their wins are week 1 against the Ravens. They had a nice win. It was week 1. Then they beat the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Steelers, the Dolphins, the Broncos, and the Eagles.
Yep.
Their losses are against the Chargers, the Bears, the Giants, the Chiefs, and the Bengals.
Yep.
And they've lost 3 in a row. And they've lost these 3 23-16 to the Giants, 41-14 to the Chiefs, and 32-13 to the Bengals. I don't think this is going to be a close game at all. I think that Dallas is just going to stomp them. I think we're going to have 2 games in a row where it's just not close. Neither team has a chance. Neither losing team, I should say, has a chance come the middle of the third quarter. And it's just we're just waiting for the end of the game for the next one to start. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. I'm going to take the Cowboys in this one. I'll say 37-17.
I'll go 38-30 with the Cowboys. I think this one's going to be closer. I think the Bears game that I told you about where I predicted, I think that's one where Bears are just going to get garbage time scores to make it look closer. I truly think this is going to be a closer game with Dallas outplaying Vegas, but Vegas just doing everything they can to just get. I think you're going to see Renfrow all of a sudden break something big. Waller's going to get some crazy play. I don't know. I just think maybe I'm just hoping. I'm freaking home alone all day tomorrow, man. Maybe I'm just hoping there's some damn good games because I actually don't think the third game is actually going to be a good game. I think both these teams are going to walk out and actually put dog crap on the field.
Yeah. Well, look, we're going to get into that here. We got the third game is going to be the nightcap when everybody's waking up from their turkey coma naps that everybody likes to take and is ready for some damn pie. And you've got the Buffalo Bills, who have struggled to score lately, versus the New Orleans Saints, who, if they're going to win, it's going to be on the heels of their defense. What do you see for a key to victory here for the New Orleans Saints?
I almost was going to say you put the team on the back of your true leader, Alvin Kamara, but he got listed today by Schefter as out. And then you've got Murray listed as questionable. So the key to this game is trick plays, kick an onside kick coming out of halftime. Like, I don't know, man. I think this is going to be a horrible game. I think the key for both teams is the defenses to just literally pound the offenses backwards. Both teams. And I think this is going to be friggin' 13-10. I think it's going to be a snooze fest. And I don't think it should be. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope both these teams can score some big plays. If they are getting into any type of a slugfest, like I predicted in the second game, I think it favors the Bills big time. I think they can then show their ability. Stephon Diggs, all of a sudden, who's gone like on hiatus or has gone on a sabbatical, comes back and actually plays. They figure out what they're doing with Singletary and Moss. Like I just don't know. I think both these defenses are just going to pound each offense backwards, and we're just going to see a punt fest. I really do.
Yeah. That's bad for the Buffalo Bills if that's what this game is, because I've said all week long that the Buffalo Bills need to come out and need to just destroy the New Orleans Saints in this game. Just destroy them. Just go out there and play angry and have no mercy and find this offense that was scoring 23, 35, 43, 40, 38, and 34, and 45 again before going into this little funk where they just can't seem to score points unless it's against the Jets. They need to find that offense again before heading into 2 out of the next 4 games being against the New England Patriots.
And maybe they find it. I mean, if there's a team that's primed to do it against, I mean,
it's going to be the Saints because they're playing with a quarterback that just look. He's nowhere on the level of what the Buffalo Bills are going to put on the field. So especially with no Alvin Kamara, especially with what they have, they should just roll them. I'm going to pick a third straight blowout of the day, and I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills in this one, and they're going to find their scoring ways again, and they're going to put up a 40 burger again, and they're going to beat the Saints 40-10.
Are you ready for this? Just because I feel like doing this because I want to see NFL fans everywhere pissed. The Bills are going to lose 16-10, and the Browns are going to beat the Ravens, and the Pats are going to beat the Titans, and then the Patriots are going to be the number 1 seed in the AFC, not because I want to be, but just to watch fans like you just lose their ever-loving minds because the Patriots and Bill Belichick are the number 1 seed. No,
I won't lose my mind with the Patriots.
I've actually got the Bills winning this game. I really do. I think the other way around. I think it's only going to be like 16-10, though. I don't know. It's not because of what I saw out of them last week. I think they ran into a team. Almost every team this year outside of Detroit has had a steamroll type of game. I mean, even Jacksonville and some of their losses have put up some good amount of points.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has had some halfway decent games. That's why he's the number 2 quarterback in the rookie class, in my opinion, right now. But the it's not that. I think they just faced an Indianapolis team who's hitting their stride, and they just got smacked in the mouth. But I still struggle right now, to me, because I don't understand their identity when it comes to Singletary and Moss. And I don't understand what they're doing with Diggs. I just really don't get it. Like, Cole Beasley's become the number 1 target. Great wide receiver for sure. But when you have Stephon Diggs on your team, like, I'm like, okay, teams are double and triple teaming Stephon Diggs. They're not. They really aren't. So what is your identity? What are you doing? Like, there should be 3 plays a game where Allen just drops back and then just lets it go and lets Diggs go get it. And they're not even doing that. I don't know. I don't know. And I'm going to get proven wrong. They're going to go out and score like 48 points or something. But I don't know. I give them the win. I'm going to give them the win. But I just don't see it being like it could be a confidence booster win, but I just don't know if I can see it being like a big time scoring game.
Drew says he predicts the Saints are going to win this one 24-16. Says the Saints are very physical. Bills don't win against physical teams.
He's got a point. I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing. Indianapolis, everyone talks about Taylor. Obviously, 5 touchdowns. We live in a fantasy league of this sport, right? And we talk about all that elements. People are talking about the fact that Indianapolis defense was smacking them in the teeth. And when the Bills have had problems, they're going against defenses that smack them in the teeth, which favors the New England Patriots, by the way. But then when they play a team like the Jets, they do great against the Jets. Want to know why? Because the Jets can't smack them in the teeth. And before anyone trashes goes, oh, well, yeah, it's the Jets. Well, the Jets beat the Tennessee Titans. The Jets have had some halfway decent, they've shown up to a couple games.
They're not as bad as their record shows.
Right. They're not as bad as their record shows. They're still a bad team, but they're not as bad as their record shows. But the Bills feast on stuff like that. To Drew's point, the Saints defense, I think they can get up the middle and put pressure on Allen and smack him in the face. And there's some disconnect. And I don't know if it's understanding and reading on when those teams are smacking them in the teeth and saying, get a quick slant to Diggs. Or that's fine. Do a draw option to Moss or something like that. It almost feels like when I watch them, they run the same setup. Allen out of shotgun, step back 2 steps, survey, roll left, see what he can throw it to get a person in. It's like backyard football almost, which last year succeeded. And to Drew's point, team smacking him in the teeth, it's not working.
Yeah, and look, I'm you made the point earlier about fans going nuts if the Patriots are the number 1 seed. I actually wouldn't mind it because I really would not mind a Super Bowl that you mentioned earlier of Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. I like that. To me, if the Bears aren't going to be in the Super Bowl, that to me would be the most fun. That it's a storyline we would have a ton to talk about on the show. Not that we wouldn't have a ton to talk about anyway because it's Super Bowl, but I mean the storyline, the drama, it would be so much fun. So I'm
the
kind
Star
of
Wars posters of Bill
Yeah.
being like on the dark side as the dark Sith Lord, and like Brady like being like Luke Skywalker.
I'd hate it. The only thing I wouldn't like about it is that would make Wayne G correct about his prediction of the Patriots winning the division and being 11-6. So that's the only thing I wouldn't like about it. But other than that, man, I would absolutely enjoy that Super Bowl. So
I put him at a 10-7 like that, but was like, I really see him more like a 9-8. But I was like, I'll give him the 10-7 more of a fandom. And now I'm like, I don't see why they
I had
can't
him at
pull
6
up
and
11
10.
wins.
I had him at 6 and 10. I wasn't a big believer in Mac Jones in
6
his
and
first
11?
year. Or 6 and 11.
Yeah.
And but then as the first couple of weeks went by, I said, all right, you know what? This is probably, I was wrong. They're probably closer to an 8-9 or 9-8 type team.
Yep.
And the next 4 weeks are going to determine that.
Yep.
The next 4 weeks are going to determine whether or not they're a pretender or contender.
The biggest gift of that is having the bye. They have the Monday night game against the Bills, and then they've got a bye week. There's no greater gift prepping for that Colts game than the bye week. So 100%. This is the stretch of their schedule, but I think there's that hidden gold, like silver lining. If they can split one of these next 2 games against the Titans and Bills, I think it puts them in a beautiful spot with a bye week, then go in full charge.
Right.
Like, it really does. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're gonna see. Soup, you got any big plans for Thanksgiving? What's going on over there at the Soup Boss headquarters?
Nope, all my plans are Friday. So tomorrow it's football and drinking beer. That's it. Period.
Oh, man. That sounds like a horrible day.
Playing some Borderlands with
I'm on my way
with my boys or something. Borderlands or Fortnite or something like that, and then just beer and football. That's it. Kids.
That's gonna be my entire weekend. That's I don't want to do like I left my computer at the shop this weekend just so for 4 days. I don't want to deal with any work stuff. I don't want to deal with anything. I want to play Fortnite with my kids. I'm going to watch some sports. I'm going to hang out with Michelle and Aubrey. Aubrey's got volleyball tournament this weekend, so we're going to go watch her play some volleyball. The kid is a stud, so it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And I'm just going to enjoy the weekend. I'm going to enjoy my time, and I'm just going to decompress and drink a lot of beer. There's going to be a lot of beer drinking this weekend. Well, maybe not beer, but there's going to be a lot of alcohol drinking this weekend.
Breaking news, Michigan State just did finalize that contract extension for their coach for 10 years. 10 years, $94 million.
Oh, wow. I just saw I've been watching the Brooklyn Nets and the Boston Celtics in the background. The Celtics were down by 30, but they've crawled back into it. I think they're only down by like 17 now. So
yeah, if you're going to play hero ball in the fourth quarter, Celtics, this is the game you do it.
Yeah.
When you're up by 30, you friggin' much.
All right, Soup. Well, you have a great Thanksgiving. I hope you and the kids have a great Thanksgiving on Friday. Hope you guys, have some great family time, and you enjoy your holiday weekend, buddy. And we'll see you next week for sure.
Yep.
Are you on with me Sunday?
Yeah, I'm free. So if you guys need me on, let's do it.
All right. Probably be me and you on Sunday. So
we'll get the most ratings anyways. Let's be honest.
It's true. It's true. Yeah, it's the Combs and Soup Hour now. It's not even Man Hour anymore. Combs and Soup Hour.
Get working on that, Buck. Let's say Mr. Computer Guy. Switch that up.
We got the Fire Nagy chance. We're gonna get the Combs and Soup Are Better chance going. All right, Soup. Hey, you have a good weekend, bud. Enjoy your holiday. Man Hour Nation, rise up.
Let's go, Cardinals.